Hey, thanks for watching this video. I'm going to be talking to you about the Quad Cortex. So I love this pedal board right here, the Quad Cortex. I mean, just a simple setup here with the pedal train. It's a Metro 20, so really small for travel and playing live gigs if you are playing live, so I highly recommend this. Before I share some tones with you, let me just talk to you a little bit about my history. Using the Quad Cortex, I actually used a lot of different other digital pedal boards before I went to this one, and I used the Helix, I used the Kemper, I even tried out the Fractal FM9, and I have different opinions about all of them. Starting with my journey, I used to have this big pedal board. I used to have the Strymon pedals, I used to have all the boutique pedals, all the pedals that I wanted on a board, but the thing is, I really hated carrying that thing, especially when you take it to a live session or a live gig and you have to carry that. It was hurting my back, it was just heavy to even carry to the car, and I just didn't like it. And so I thought to myself, what can I do to alleviate the little bit of pain on the weight? When you set up a pedal board, there's all these cables that you have to set up. And so the other part was when I was going to live sessions, I would set it up and the sound guy turns on my board. I noticed that the sound wouldn't come out. So I'm thinking, oh, what's wrong? So then I have to check the cables all the way from the guitar and check each pedal if they're working fine, and the patch cables. That got really annoying really fast when it happened a couple times with my patch cables. Basically, I thought, you know what, maybe I want to go with an all-in-one unit. I heard about the Helix and there was a lot of people that were using it on YouTube, and I just looked them up. I decided to just buy myself. When I first got the Helix, I was definitely amazed by the functions and all the features that came with it. The main thing I will say why I love the Helix so much was the thing called snapshots, and the reason for that was because I like the idea of pressing one button and then you turn on multiple pedals at once. Snapshot was really that. I mean, you press that button and everything turns on at once. And of course you can do that with a regular pedal board as well, but again, we're running into that cable issue again. As far as like the reverbs and the delays and overdrives, they are very good. The thing is, I had the Strymon pedals, and to this day, I still think the Strymon Timeline and the Big Scar are the best to my ears. When I use the Helix and I tried the reverbs, they are very good. I went a couple weeks ago to Guitar Center to try out some reverbs at the Helix pedal, and there's a new one that just came out, I believe, with like the one effect thing that you can use at a time. It was really good. I like it. I would even say that maybe those reverbs even sounded better than the Quad Cortex reverbs. At this time period though, I remember playing the Helix, there was this cold, shrill feeling that I was getting. You see, I had a pedal board and an amp, right? But when you play a digital board with a digital amp, digital overdrives, the feeling is slightly different. Sizzling maybe on the gains, and it did not feel authentic. It's really just trying to emulate that amp feel. Also, something about a real amp is that you get this nice feedback as well. When I tried that Helix, I thought, you know what, this is great, but let's see what else is out there. And that's when I found out about the Kemper. And again, I was on YouTube and I'm just looking at people that were saying that the Kemper is better than the Helix, or is Helix better than the Kemper? Different schools of thoughts, of course. I just see them as different units now. With the Kemper, I turn it on and I'm thinking, wow, that feels so amazing. Like this spongy push feeling that you get like a real amp. Again, the real amp sounds better still. I mean, I'd rather have a real amp, but the Kemper, it sounded really good, like my first initial impression. What's even better, I found out about Michael Britt. I checked out his N-Brit profiles, and when I turned that on, I thought they were just amazing. I mean, I bought the patches on his website, so I highly recommend it. If I had to just choose on amp feel alone, outside of effects and overdrive, I'll say that the Kemper is probably the best feeling of an amp. Some other thoughts about the Kemper. When I'm listening to the Kemper just on YouTube alone, it doesn't sound as, I would say, high def or as much clarity as the Quad Cortex. That's my only opinion about it these days, but if you are thinking about getting Kemper, I still recommend that you get a Kemper. It's still a phenomenal unit. So after this, I had the Helix, I had the Kemper. Now I'm hearing that people love this thing called the Fractal. You want to tweak all day, you want to edit to every little thing, then get the Fractal unit. So I got the Fractal. That cold shrill feeling that I felt from the Helix came back. Of course, like I did some digging online, read forums and go on YouTube again, and they were saying like, well, if you're not getting the exact sound, then you need to tweak it more to the exact fitting of what you want. So I thought, okay, I will just learn how to do Fractal. When I had the FM9 and I was trying to edit it, I immediately just was stressed out. That's the feeling I got. I mean, I didn't even think the Kemper was the best either. The Fractal, I couldn't even edit on the pedal board itself on the FF9. I didn't even know what to do on it. And then when I used the editing, of course the computer's a lot better. I was still getting stressed out because I will say the number one thing I did not like about the Fractal unit was that it was terrible on the user friendliness. If you want to learn and you got a lot of time, I think you should learn it. I think it's great to learn because you can definitely like edit a lot. Like a lot. Like when you say you like editing, it's not like you tweaking little knobs here and there. It's like a lot of editing. I just didn't like that process. I didn't even like the software. And honestly, I had the FF9 and I just left it in my room, maybe for like a couple months. And I just decided to sell it because I wasn't even using it. I didn't even use it live. I didn't feel like I could rely on it. Like what if I did need to change something on the fly? At least with the Kemper, I felt like I could do it right there and then. And then with the Helix, of course I can do it right there and then, but I was definitely not even confident to even take it out. So it never left my home. All this to say that, well, I didn't like the FF9. I don't have the Kemper. I don't have the Helix anymore. Is there something that's gonna hit that mark of an amp feel like the Kemper and also effects and overdrives like the Helix? And basically I found out about the Quad Cortex. When it first came out, there was so much comments about how the company has promised many things, but I guess they failed to do it at a quicker rate. They are at this time, it's 2025 right now, and they released a lot of patches and they released a lot of new features that I don't even use and that I'm not even concerned with. To be honest with you, I was actually pretty happy with the unit when it first just came out without any of these updates. The main con that I felt about the Quad Cortex is the feeling that I got with the Kemper. I did not feel the same feelings as the Quad Cortex. Felt the feeling more on the Kemper than the Quad Cortex. The Quad Cortex does give me that cold shrills feeling again, like the Helix did, but not as much. I want to put it that way. I still feel it, but not as much. Fast forward, when I was using the Quad Cortex, I even bought like a Tumnus pedal. You put like a Klon type pedal, like a Tumnus, and the Myth drive on the Quad Cortex, and you try to A/B and test. You can tell a little tiny bit that the one is a digital and one is the analog, but it's extremely hard to tell if you're like not listening careful enough. And that's when I knew like the Quad Cortex was really good, because I'm like, I'm just A/Bing this. I can hardly tell myself. The reverb and delay pedals on the Quad Cortex, I do want to say that it did not feel the same as the Strymon pedal. And in fact, I actually to this day don't like the reverb and delay as much as even the Helix, the Kemper, and I'll even say the FM9. I think it's the weakest. It doesn't mean they're bad. I'm just saying if you have to compare it to Helix or Kemper or even the FM9, I think those were actually better in terms of the reverb and the delay department. Everything I compare reverb to is the plate setting on the Strymon Big Sky. Also, I compare every delay, the timeline, the tape effects. Doesn't mean I don't use, of course, the tape setting on the Quad Cortex or the reverb. I've been kind of liking nowadays the analog actually and the digital delay on the Quad Cortex more than the tape delay. So maybe the Quad Cortex is just not good on certain effects, and maybe other effects are just a little bit better, and I just didn't give them a chance. If you're using certain effects like tape and you're like married to the tape delay, maybe try out the analog or the digital, because they sound really great actually on the Quad Cortex. The plate on the Quad Cortex is not my favorite, but I tried out the Mine Hall. Man, that sounds so good. It has like a nice modulation, and like it kind of does have that plate bright sound going to my ear, so it sounds good. I would just say try out different effects, and maybe some things are actually better on the Quad Cortex. Now that I finished talking about the history of using digital pedal boards and the Quad Cortex, let me just show you this setup that I have. So I have this called a Talk DC7, and it's a great power supply. I'm just gonna show you up close on the cabling. I have this case. I don't think there was a lot of sellers at the time when I was looking for a case like this, but it basically just like has a flap to it, and I just open it up. And the main reason I did that is because just in case if like the screen gets cracked, I just want to protect it. I have the Dunlop volume pedal on here. It's the mini one, it's great. And then I have the Shure wireless tuner here, which is also gonna be working with my guitar or a wireless rig. And then I have this little pick holder here. And I think I got this little covering circle thing from Hawaii. Okay, now so I'm just gonna show you some tones from the Quad Cortex. And if you want this preset, it's totally for free. So wherever the link is in the description, you can just get it right there. Thank you for listening to this video, and I hope you enjoy that preset.